can I just get, thank you. Can I just get a thumbs up that everyone can see the screen? Great, thank you, thank you. So I don't have very long. We've only got an hour together, which is no time at all to really dive into too much within the strategic planning field. So what I want to do today, and given that it's such a small team, I am largely going to give away everything that I use to run strategic planning and strategic planning workshops. I am going to ask Eloise now to share 4 specific documents. 5 specific documents actually. I'm going to give you my 1-page strategic plan, the OPSP. I'm going to give you another variation of the 1-page strategic plan that also has an explainer attached to it. So I've pre-filled out all of the 1-page strategic planning document with the kind of instructions, what a purpose means, what a moonshot is, what the SWOT does, etc. So I'm going to give you that document. I'm also going to give you the 10 core elements of strategic planning. And I have tried to flesh these out in so much that you'll be able to run a strategic planning process internally if you'd like to, without any facilitation. So it's only high level, but it will give you the details, the exact steps that I run through to, and the team here at Focus HR run through to deliver strategic planning. I'm also going to give you a 1-page project plan. So really, really important around preventing failure to implement is having a plan for every single action item that you as a team have committed to doing. So I'm going to give you the template for the 1-page project plan. And lastly, I'm going to give you a document that we call the CEO or signature presentation, the CEO presentation or the signature presentation. This is one of the key takeaways. If you are a business owner or leader, this is one of the key takeaways from this session that I want you to have, is where your role fits into the important areas of strategic planning. So I'm going to give you all of those tools. Eloise, have you been able to share that?
Yes, I put them in the chat.
So everyone, if you go to your chat button, you should be able to access those documents. There's 4 Word documents and one PDF. If you are lucky enough to have 2 screens, have me talking on one and bring up maybe the 1-page strategic plan, the OPSP. If you don't worry, you don't need those documents during this 1-hour session. And what I'd encourage you to do, we've got a couple of exercises and activities to go through. What I'd encourage you to do is scribble down on a blank sheet of paper your ideas and thoughts as we go through. And then as soon as possible after this webinar, pull down or print off a copy of the 1-page strategic plan, the OPSP, and start filling in that document. Any questions? See, Teresa has joined us. G'day, Teresa. Nice to have you on board. All right, no questions. If there are, throw them in the chat box. And I've got Eloise and Naomi here, not just for moral support, but also so that we can address any of those questions. The format for today is going to be pretty simple. I'm going to give us about 15-20 minutes of background information, a bit of theory on strategic planning. Then we're going to run a couple of exercises. I've got 2 key exercises to give you today. The first is how to develop your why, your purpose. And the second is how to plan for a really great year. And I've borrowed an exercise from a book called Switch, which is called Destination Postcard. It's a cracking, really simple exercise to be able to remove the blinkers and plan for a really great year. Yeah, Renee, sure thing. Eloise, can you just respond to Renee and see if you can help her find the documents? And if they aren't accessible in that way, Renee will email them to you, no problems. Okay, and so that exercise is called Destination Postcard. And then with about 20 minutes to go, I want to make sure that if there's any questions relating to what we're talking about, that I can answer those. So without any further lead in than that, I'm going to dive in and we're going to get on with it, because this is a huge topic. It is something that I'm really passionate about. And so let's begin. Please use the chat box for questions, etc. And Teresa, no worries about the camera. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. As we go through, there will be question time at the end. But if you've got a burning question, please interrupt. Pull yourself off mute. There's only a small team, which is really nice for me. Feels a little bit more intimate and one-to-one. So as I'm going through, if you've got questions, just pull yourself off mute, jump in, interrupt me, and ask me the question so we can look at it there. All right. So I am celebrating 20 years researching strategic planning. I was given a book in 2002 by a then mentor and friend who gave me the brand new, back then, Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish. And such a brilliant book. Completely changed how I was looking at strategy. And so began my strategic planning journey. So read this book over and over again, and just fell in love with this concept of thinking clearly and differently to being purely operational. And what it taught me was just this shift of, there's operations in business and then there's strategy, and they are very different disciplines to think about. And so over the next sort of 8 to 10 years, I was studying this strategic planning, implementing it in my own businesses and businesses that I worked with and as an employee. It helped me set up HR departments in the security world. It helped me plan in the startup world, in a business that I was involved in online web development. And then about 10 years ago, I had the opportunity of stepping out and becoming a consultant, and really based it around strategic planning and human resources. And so for the last 10 years, I've been developing and delivering strategic planning workshops, otherwise known as retreats, but I really think that's a misnomer. There's nothing retreat-like about the workshops that we run, or that I get the privilege of running. It's 2 really heavy days of work, and we're not retreating from anything. We're not running away from anything. And secondly, we're not sitting there drinking cocktails and letting it all happen. They are heavy, they are brilliant, but they are so important for all businesses. And I've had the privilege of working with some really big businesses, and they're doing their strategic plans. I've worked with organizations and not-for-profits and peak bodies, and then also tiny little businesses of 1 and 2 people. So this stuff is relevant to everybody. If you're in a department within a really big organization, that's fine. You can look at this, and these things are relevant across the board. So strategic planning, I think Stephen Covey summarizes this better than anyone could. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And that is as simple as you can put strategic planning. What is it that we're trying to achieve? And let's keep that thing in focus and make sure that our entire team understand. Now, the bits between those words and in the gap, it's about making sure that the main thing is understood. So where are we going? making sure the main thing is understood by everybody in the organization. So that communication of what the important attributes of what the important objectives are. And then making sure that we're actually moving towards that. So look, we look at and genuinely believe that in business today, to win in business today, you need a plan. And the plan must be one that everybody in the organization knows and can implement. They buy into it, that they understand it, that they understand what is involved in it, and that they have an opportunity of implementing that ability to actually implement it. Because when you talk about strategic plans, you can't actually implement strategy. Strategy is a future state, and you can't implement that future state. You've got to break it down, and I'll show you the way that we break that down in a moment. But to reiterate the kind of purpose of strategic planning, it's number one for me, it's around alignment. Alignment of the team, of all of your stakeholders to this north point, to the purpose, to the vision, to the rules, the guiding, your values, those guiding rules of how we engage. It's about clarifying the goals and the intent behind the goals so that you can get genuine understanding across the team with what needs to be done. Setting clear expectations, and that's expectations of both what we're trying to achieve, but also of the behavior and the conduct and the performance. Those guiding rules that we play with. The other one is strategic risk. So it's about addressing that organizational governance risk from a really holistic perspective. And I'll show you that through the 10 elements of when we go out to the industry and remove the blinkers and have a bigger look at what's happening in our world. As business owners and even department managers, we can really get the blinkers on and be quite insular about our world. A great strategic plan really simplifies the communication and gets the message out across all levels of the organization. And while not everybody is going to be involved in the development of strategy, everybody from the janitor and external providers in your organization, all the way through to CEO, board members, chairs, directors, everyone must be reading off the same page and must be able to equally understand what is required. Hey, Eloise, can you mute yourself? Sorry. Your super fast typing is coming across. So the next component is collaboration, and a good strategic process, not the plan, but the process really does allow for that diversified thinking and that sharing of ideas, which I prove over and over and over again with the workshops that we run. It is so valuable, so important. The second to last is developing a strategic mindset and a strategic skill set. So great operators in businesses are so common. Business owners and operators get into business, they build a team around themselves because they're great operators. That does not mean that they're terrific strategic thinkers. And so there's a real opportunity to develop and build your strategic thinking capability. And that's across the board. And it's a really great development and learning process for everyone involved. And then lastly, to grow as a team who can think, plan, and execute together. There is nothing like the feeling of success and winning in business. And when you are doing that consistently, when you're doing it as a team, when it's not relying on individuals, but you really got this, it feels like you're cheating. It feels like you're on this train that is unstoppable. If you're having a rough time, someone else is there to pick you up and pull you along. It really is a team sport. For anyone out there that likes the sporting analogies, it's that flow state that you get on when you're rowing or running, when you don't feel your steps. It really does feel fantastic when you've got this strategic mindset and skill set in the team, and you're growing and developing and executing together. All right. So the 10 core elements of strategy. Now, I've given you a one-page outline that have all of these on, and so you can download that and have that as a reference. I want to run through these 10 core elements of strategy, and this is one of those areas. Is if you've got questions at this point, please come off mute, jump in. So this is what I've learned over the last 20 years of studying it, 10 years of delivering workshops. If you try to pull out, remove, or skip any of these steps, you will have a hole in your process, and something will fall over which will remove the ability for you to trust the system and the process. So I really do believe that these are the minimum elements that are needed to really deliver a strong strategic plan. And I think the strongest compelling argument here is we've tried to bastardize this process because clients have asked us for, can we shorten it? It's too big, it's too cumbersome, and every time we've done that, I've regretted it. It hasn't worked. The delivery, the outcomes are not as strong as when we stick to these. So first of all, industry analysis. You've got to remove the blinkers, and you've got to go outside of your four walls and do a big scan of the industry. I'm talking about accessing IBIS World reports, the ATO benchmark data, the Industry Peak Body Association reports. Understand what's happening outside of your four walls. Call non-competing businesses that look and feel like yourself. If you're an electrical company in Toowoomba, Queensland, call an electrical company in Adelaide, South Australia, and ask them, what are their pricing? What are their team? What are their core benchmarks? What are their ratios of staff to revenue, et cetera, et cetera. That is a real example of something that I did several years ago when I was in that position. You'll be amazed at how much people are willing to share, but you need to take the blinkers off and see what else is happening in the industry. So there's a lot of data, there's a lot of information. Ask your accountants, what's happening? How am I performing against my peers? Ask your accountant, ask your legal team, ask any of your trusted advisors for this industry analysis, and the extension to that is nominate someone in your organization as that intelligence officer, and have them keeping on scanning the industry as you go. There are gems in there that will really set you aside. So that's number one. Number two is gather feedback. So get feedback from those people who know your business well, and that is your employees. Ask your employees a set of really simple questions, 10 or less. What are we doing well? What are we not doing so well? What are those elements that set us aside? What are you seeing in the industry? What are our opportunities, our threats, our strengths and our weaknesses? And I like asking the question, if you were CEO for a day, what are the top 1, 2, or 3 decisions that you would make? So ask your team for feedback leading into the strategy process. Also, don't just focus on your employees. This is a great opportunity to let your customers and clients know that you're engaging in the strategic process, the strategic business process. And so ask them, hey, what do we do well? What do we not? We're going away in a month's time with the leadership team to better our business. What's some feedback you can give us? Okay, tap into that incredible knowledge base of your clients and customers. Otherwise, and the other ones are any key stakeholders. So again, ask your trusted advisors, you're a marketing consultant, your accountant, your bookkeeper, ask them to be involved in that pre-strategy survey. So important. When you get that information back, when you get that raw data back, we're going to share that with our key people in a moment. And that's step 4. So hold that thought for a minute. Step 3 is the director's job. It is your job to set the big fundamentals. And through experimenting, we've learned that your team largely are unlikely going to be, they're not enthusiastic about setting the direction, the vision, the purpose, the moonshot, the values. That's your job. As a business owner, a business leader, a department leader, you need to set those real fundamentals. And so the purpose, the vision, the values, your critical numbers, the moonshot, if you know it is part of the director's job. Once you set those things, once you give those things to your people and then ask them to come along and help you build the roadmap, they're going to be much more comfortable and feel like they can actually be engaged and constructively assist in that process. So this is where the CEO or the signature presentation comes into play. It's a short 6 to 10 slide presentation that you can use in a whole heap of different areas. But where I want you to use it is to explain to your team where you've come from. What's the history of this business and why did it come of age? Why did it start in the first place? If you've bought the business or it's part of something else or it's grown, tell that story. And I promise you, because I've asked many employees, I promise you, your staff and your team do not get sick of hearing this. If you've got to repeat it every year, that is completely fine. But tell the story of the company. Where you've come from, what have the milestones been, what's the growth been, what are the challenges been, and where are you going? Where are you going in the future? So there's a bit of a template there with the CEO presentation. Number 4, involve the right people. So first of all, we want to get the right people at the table to be involved in strategy. My first tip here is, if there are any naysayers in your organization, healthy skeptics are perfectly fine. You want healthy skeptics at the table. But if there's anyone who genuinely disengages from this process, even if they are a management or part of the management team, you shouldn't be involving them in this process. There's not enough time to deal with and talk people into this process. If people don't get it, leave them off the bus. And actually, you need to deal with that separately because that's going to really limit your ability to execute on these things in the future. So involve the right people. They are your management team. They are up and coming emerging leaders. They are the good thinkers and strong thinkers in your organization. They are also external people like potentially your marketing consultant, your accountant, your mentors. If you've got a business mentor, involve them in this process. Share the raw information from the industry analysis and from the pre-strategy survey and go through it. What you're looking for are patterns. What are the patterns? What are the things that are coming up on the horizon? What are the great opportunities in the market? What are the different crazy left field, outside of the box thoughts that we should explore and dig into? So for this, come up with a simple highlighting convention, and go through that data and look for the patterns. What emerges from that are things like, there'll be operational things in that. Don't get bogged down in the operations. Highlight them blue for operations, put them on a different list and address them later on. The green light ideas, those simple no-brainers, the low-hanging fruit, highlight those greens, put them on a list and tell your team, we're going to get that stuff done. Then I want you to highlight maybe yellow or pink, the ideas that you want to go away to your retreat, your strategic workshop, and really dig in and debate, discuss, pull to pieces, explore. They might be the crazy ideas that someone's come up with for a new product, a new service, or they can be the really big challenges that you face. Something's changed in your industry or in your market, and you want the team to get around and attack this this challenge or this problem. Those are the things that I want you to highlight. So once you've done that, you've got this amazing set of data that you need to go through. Then you need to meet offsite in a non-operational setting for 2 days and look at all of this data. On day one, you think really high level strategically. So day one, you're looking at what's the feedback from the pre-strategy survey? What is it telling us? What do we know? I want you to do your director's presentation on day one. I want you to have those high level conversations with the team about those big ticket items. That's going to take most of, if not all of a day. Day two is all about the plan. And if you're looking at that 1-page strategic plan, day one sits around the left and the top. So it's your purpose, your vision, your moonshot, your critical numbers, your values, those elements. So they all sit around the top. That's day one. And your SWOT analysis down the bottom, that's day one. And then day two is all about the middle, that grey section if you're looking at the explainer, which is the plan. So 3-year winning moves, 12-month priorities, quarterly action plan. And you work through that across the 2 days. It must be in a non-operational setting. If you allow operations to creep in, you'll spend the 2 days on operations, 100%. It just happens. Actually, most of my facilitation over those 2 days is reminding people to suck themselves out of the operational space and into and keep them at that strategic level. All right. At that offsite meeting, you are moving into this area 6, so documentation of a plan, and I encourage you to get it down and then get it right. This is just about having lots of print-offs of that 1-page plan and starting to scribble down the ideas. You don't want to wordsmith and get it perfect straight away. That's going to happen over the next 3, 6, 12 months. So get it down, then get it right. Start working through that plan. Number 7 is allocating project leaders to all of the action items that you come up with. So the 3-year winning moves, the 12-month priorities, and the quarterly action items, and any other action items that fall out of those 2 days, they need to have a project leader. And this is so important for responsibility and accountability. So you can't have 2 names next to any action. It's just got to be one. And my pro tip there is delegate as far down as you possibly can. You as the leader, department leader, or the CEO, director should have as few of those action items as possible. Once you've allocated project leaders to those action items, so it might be a project around exploring new software or exploring a new product development, whatever those action items are, you then need to give the project leaders some time to develop a really detailed and documented project plan. And I've supplied you with a template that we use called the OPPP, which is the 1-page project plan. And this steps anybody, even if you are brand new to project planning, this steps you through the process of thinking clearly about what that project or that action item involves. What's the background? Why are we doing this? How does it link to our strategy? What is the current state of play that means that this action item has some value? And then what are the steps that we're going to take and how do we actually start? Who's going to be part of the team, etc. This is so important to prevent failure of implementation. And one of the key killers of strategy is that you go away for an event, strategy seen as an event, you go away for those 2 days, you come back to the workplace all hyped up, and within a couple of days, you're back sucked into the whirlwind of day to day, and the strategy just seems like this long forgotten thing that was expensive to do, a huge investment, and now is adding a little value, except making us all stressed. So documenting these detailed project plans is the first step. Make sure the project leaders are doing that. I give our team 2 weeks, but I'd say no longer than 2 weeks. Somewhere 1 week, 1 to 2 weeks is plenty of time for them to have a first draft of their project plan and then come back to a management meeting or a team meeting to present them to the team for review and then for director sign off. Now you're signing off saying, yep, you've captured exactly what I want delivered, and you've got some action steps there. So careful with rubber stamping things that come through. Make sure that you ask the questions when needed. Right, most of the work is done. Now we move on to monthly check-ins. So you as the leader of that organization or department, this is where you come into your own, and I want you to check in on every project leader once a month. A one-to-one, quick. It only needs to be a few minutes, but make sure that it's based around the project plan itself. Don't walk up to somebody and, hey, how's that project going? And then accept a, yep, all good, it's in progress. Get the project plan out. Hey, let's have a catch up after lunch, and I want you to give me an update on your project. How's the strategic project going? Get them to pull out the plan, update the plan as they're going through, interrogate it and make sure. The things to look out for are if there's no problems and everything is good, that's when alarm bells should be going off for you. What you're there to do is remove roadblocks, clarify the expectations, prioritize their work. And so you can do that by using the one-page project plan and linking it back to the strategic plan. If you do that, you're going to move your organization forward so fast, and really, you're going to get a whole lot of momentum behind you. And lastly, you go into a review and repeat. So we look at this rhythm of daily huddles, weekly operations, monthly strategic review meetings, quarterly review and reset. So you reset that last column on the one-page strategic plan, the quarterly actions, and then annually you go away and review the whole thing. That is the strategic planning process, and with a few tools that we've provided you, that is exactly how we run our strategic planning, both internally and for our clients. I'm going to pause, but and just grab a drink. If there's any questions, come off mute and ask me. Renee, did you have a question? I could see that you came off. Nope. Can't hear you. Dump it in the chat function if you want.
Sorry, Alistair.
Oh, g'day, Renee. Go.
Sorry, my question was around.
I lost you.
Sorry.
You're
You
right.
talked about that daily huddles.
Yes.
And what was the weekly one? Sorry.
Weekly operations meeting. You know what? I'm going to share that as well. Hey, Eloise, can you find the meeting rhythm document? It'll be, yeah, it's the communication rhythm document. Renee, we're going to share that with you as well. So this gives you the agendas and each of the documents that each of the meetings that are run. So daily huddle, weekly operations meeting, monthly strategic check-ins, quarterly review and resets, annual strategic workshop.
Thank you. That'd be
And
wonderful.
it breaks down, you know, what the agendas are for each and how long they should be, etc. So it's quite a nice document. Good question. All right. So strategic planning for me is largely about strategic thinking and execution planning. And I can't put enough emphasis on these two things are very different disciplines to what we are used to in our day-to-day lives. It is strategic thinking, high level, future looking, outside of the box, thinking laterally, coming together with ideas, and then it's coming back down to ground level and looking at how do we implement this? How do we actually deliver the plan? I'm going to race through a couple of these things. Goal setting is about 3-year winning moves, 12-month priorities, and quarterly action items. This is how you chunk down your strategic plan. The one-page plan we've already had a look at. This slide is just showing you the explainer that you've got. The red parts are the high-level leadership job. The grey down the very bottom, the SWOT, and there's an extra T on that, trends. Make sure you see that part. And then the black is the plan in the middle. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I want to get to questions, but this is our cascading framework, which begins with that foundation, purpose, vision, values. Then you shoot out to the moonshot. You chunk the moonshot down, because if a moonshot is a good moonshot, it means that it is out of reach, hard to put your finger on. So we've got to break it down into 3-year winning moves. We've got to break down the 3-year winning moves into 12-month priorities, and then you focus in on what is achievable in the next 90 days, the quarterly action items. That's where the rubber hits the road. Let me give you an example of our strategic plan. This is our strategic plan, and we renew the quarterly action every 90 days. And this is how we bring it to life. A3 sheets stuck on our walls, ability to look at it every single day. We also put our components, different components of the strategy on wherever we can, really. We've got these stuck to the back of our laptops so that when we're on the move, we see them. They are part of our screensaver. They are stuck up on giant, we got them printed out giant size in our boardroom. Everywhere we can, we bring strategy to life. This is our moonshot. So our moonshot is to have a positive impact on the working lives of 100,000 people by 2030. So this was our concept. Gave this to a company called BrickMe, and they gave us this, which sits in our boardroom. That is 2.7 meters by 1.5 meters tall. So it's this giant Lego, and the red components are us filling up that 100,000. So there's 10,000 red 1x1 Lego pieces in that, and every time we help 10 people, we put another Lego brick in that wall picture. All right, I want to take you through. Gosh, we are running short of time. Yeah, thanks, Renee. It is awesome. And anyone who's, if you get an opportunity to come in and have a look, it is such a cool, it's so cool. It really keeps our team focused on what's important. And then when we make a difference, the client or the customer can actually have a contribution and put those 1x1 pieces on the wall. Just keeps things front of mind. It keeps the main thing the main thing. The company is called BrickMe, and they're an Australian company, two blokes down in Newcastle, I think. Awesome lads. All right, 2 quick activities and then question time. First activity is about your purpose. this is one of my favorite activities, and we have 3 different ways of finding our purpose. One is the Simon Sinek's the 5 whys. Start with what, go to why, and then why. That's okay, but it's quite challenging. The one that I love the most is this one called the Corporation Eulogy. And what I want you to do is just take 30 seconds now to think about, if your company or organization or your department did not exist, what would be lost? What value would no longer be provided to your customers, to your stakeholders, to your members? And then ask yourself the question, why is it important that you do the work that you do? So just take 30 seconds to think about that and jot down some ideas. The purpose of your organization is, why do you exist? Why do you exist? And to understand that, you can ask yourself these questions, and it gets much closer. I find that this activity gets much closer to your why, your genuine why, than a number of others that can kind of get stuck on the what we do. We at Focus HR, we go into bat for business owners and businesses. We help with conflict in the workplace. We educate and develop emerging leaders. We provide the strategic process. They're all what, but why we do it is very different. Why we do what we do is because we genuinely believe there's a better way of working in this really tough environment. And so our purpose is driven by that. We also genuinely believe that the intent of the people we work with is the multiplying factor to what we can do. So we can bring the heart, the knowledge, and the balance. But if the people we work with have got the right intent, we magnify that. If they've got the wrong intent, we're also going to magnify that. So we have a negative impact in that way. So you can quickly get to the what, but this activity really gets to the why. Any questions? Anyone have any aha moments, or and I hope that helped. Normally we'd spend about an hour on this, and it's not intended to get it right straight away, but it is intended to suck the thinking into this place that is much better suited. Yeah, thanks, Renee. It really is. It really is a good exercise, and it pulls you away from the vision. The vision is the envisaged successful future state of your organization, where you want to be, how big you want to get, what sort of impact you want to have, etc., etc. The vision is where you're going. The why is, the purpose is why you exist. All right. So and please feel free, if you want to have your best crack at the one-page strategic plan and send it through to me. Love reading those things. So very happy to have a read and give you some feedback back. Next activity, we're moving through super quickly, but the next activity is around designing a great year. And like I said, I've borrowed this from a great book by Dan and Chip Heath called Switch. And their activity is called Destination Postcard. So what I want you to do now is take 30 seconds again and think about, so you are you are presenting at your breakup, your company or your department or organization's breakup party, December 23 this year. So December 23, 2022, you're presenting at the breakup party and you're thanking everyone for a great year. So easy way to imagine, what does success look like? What does success look like looking back at 2022? And then ask yourself, what are the 3 things that needed to happen to achieve success in 2022? It's a really simple but super powerful exercise. Take 30 seconds now just to think about that. So if you can envisage a successful year or a great year, actually, I don't, Dan and Chip Heath go into some detail about why this activity is so powerful, because it really, to me, it feels like a complete hack. I can sit there thinking about, like, what do we need to do this year? And it's really hard. I have a hard time setting kind of the order of magnitude. How big do we go? How little do we go? What's achievable? Where do I begin? And I just start spinning. But when you go, righto, take yourself forward to December, end of the year, just before I go away. What do I want to say thanks for? What do I want to celebrate? It feels like everything kind of drops out. Those key elements are there. So then all you need to do is share that. And we do this in groups. So we get everyone to spend 3 or 4 minutes writing down their vivid picture of a successful year. And then we get them to share, and the aha, and oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's an awesome year. And then you pull out those components, and suddenly there's your 12-month priorities. I hope that's helped. If anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question on that, but in that short sentence or a couple of bullet points, you'll have a number of key activities that need to be done this year to achieve success. Those are the components that go back in that 1-page plan under the 12-month priorities. All right. I want you to take these 3 things away, and then I'm going to ask for questions if there are any. The purpose, vision, and the direction, the stuff in the 1-page plan that is in red, up the left-hand side across the top, that's your job as the leader, the director, the business owner, or the department head. Set those things by gathering in the data, gathering in the feedback, thinking through it, engaging with your trusted advisors, and set that direction. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that's your job. Set that first. Then pull the team in to help you develop the roadmap to get there. That's the engaging part. That's where your team can feel like they're having the greatest contribution. Then set the discipline, the rhythm, and the routine. This stuff is not easy. It is not easy, but the most challenging part is just getting in the habit, the discipline, and the routine of those daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual meetings. So set yourself up well to prevent failure from implementation, and use those project plans and the 1-page strategic plan as your kind of reference point. If you fall off the wagon, go back to that. Go back to those 2 documents and update it. And you will fall off the wagon. So having those documents there just gives you that ability to quickly go back, refresh it, and then try again, start again. And lastly, don't underestimate the value of those core values, the those handful of rules that your organization live and make decisions by. They are key in this process as well. Also, lastly from me, thank you for today, and thanks for coming on this short little journey with us. We also, Focus HR and Talent Spring, we use external providers of this strategic work, mainly because it's really difficult to facilitate this stuff by yourself or on your own. And I want to be participating in Focus HR's strategy. So that's why we get an outside person, and we will continue to use external strategy coaches for that purpose. Doesn't mean that you can't do it. It's just understanding that challenge, but developing that skill set and that mindset is really, really valuable. All right. Thank you. I'm going to stop sharing now, come out of the presentation, and I just want to see if there's any questions or anything that we can help anyone with. I hope it was valuable. And again, super quick. It's just, it's such a small introduction to strategic planning.
Al, Andrew had a question in terms of context. Is this approach to strategy best developed or deployed in SME setting, or do you think it is equally applicable to large organizations and to the public sector?
Yeah, look, this has been proven to work in Fortune 500 organizations and bigger. It absolutely works at a divisional level within organizations, as well as a strategic and higher level. I think traditionally this has come out of big business, and for me over the last sort of nearly decade, I guess I've been trying to make it relevant to small business and the SME area. And I think it's one of the mistakes that we make as small business owners, is that we're not big enough for strategy. And that's a really big mistake. We work with small businesses, sole operators, micro businesses, less than four employees, and it is applicable to everybody. There's the premise of this thing is clarification, alignment, and this communication message, and that's applicable to any organization. Good question. Does that answer you? And I reckon more public sector organizations doing this type of work would be extremely valuable. Any other questions? Yes.
Alistair, in implementing your strategic framework, you mentioned very early on in your presentation about making sure that your plan is known and that your organisation is capable of implementing. What sort of work do you have to do before you get there to ensure that there's a culture in your organisation, that all of your organisation shares the values of the strategic direction being set by directors? Is that a precondition to facilitating this implementation environment, that your organisation has a culture that means that they're on board with the values of the organisation, they support the objectives that directors want to set?
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Andrew. Short answer is no, it's not a prerequisite. In fact, it is one of the key outcomes when we're talking to an organisation, when I'm prepping directors or leaders to go away to strategy. One of the things that comes out in that pre-strategy survey is when there is a disconnect. And the first thing we see is in organizations that haven't set their values and don't have a strong culture. When they do set it for the first time, you can get some attrition, in fact, and it's a warning that I give our clients when we're going into this stuff. When you set those fundamentals, and particularly the values, so purpose and values, in fact, if there's a member of your team that don't align with those values or the vision, the purpose or the values, that is a great opportunity for a conversation. And we've facilitated a number of times where we're talking to people about getting off the bus, which is pretty confronting for business owners. But it is something that is really powerful, because we've worked with little businesses that are kind of 8-10 years old. They've got 15 to 20 staff. The managing director comes and for the first time articulates, this is what we want to do, and these are my values. And you get senior management going, they don't align with me. And so then you can have a conversation about exiting those people. And it's a real choice for employees to get on the bus and get on with it or not. The other area that, in answering your question, the other area that we see, once you start strategy, that responsibility and accountability piece comes out. So holding people accountable for the first time to unambiguous targets can be pretty confronting for a team as well. And you really do see who on your team are the productive deliverers and the ones that are happy to take accountability and deliver versus those who are not. And they can be some of the challenges that you see within the kind of the first 3, 6, 9 months of implementing strategy for the first time. Does that help? Does that answer? Good question. Anyone else? Anyone else got any questions or thoughts? Again, thank you for joining us. If anyone needs any more information, please just reach out. We didn't have a big group on today, which I don't mind, but obviously Nay's going to have words with our marketing person for sure, right? And we'll continue doing these little events. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you, everybody. I'll stay on if anyone has any specific questions for a couple of minutes, but I'll let everyone go. Thank you so much for joining us. Real pleasure. Thanks for letting me share.
Bye all. Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Nay. Thanks, Eloise.